Okay, for the chocolate brownies, you need to get all of your ingredients ready in the right place before you start. So in my bowl, one of my bowls, I've got 185 grams of unsalted butter and 185 grams of dark chocolate, and I need that to start melting without getting too hot. So I have a saucepan of water which I've brought up to the boil, and I'm just going to put my bowl on top of that and leave that be. The bowl is not going to touch the water, but the steam from the water should be enough to just melt that all together gently for me, as I don't want the chocolate to get overheated. If you overheat your chocolate, it will start to go hard again, and there's really not a lot you can do with it. And because this is being done in a glass bowl, the glass bowl will hold the heat, and I'm just going to leave that to melt for a little bit. If you like, you can melt chocolate in the microwave, but again, you've got to be careful not to burn it. So that is two of my ingredients in the right place. I've got a second bowl which is smaller, and I have 85 grams of plain flour and 40 grams of cocoa in the sieve, and I just need to shake those through together. And when I'm done, you can do this on a plate if you like at school, provided of course you don't get too much mixture over the side. I'm just going to leave the sieve on the top of that because I'm going to need that again in a moment. I've got 50 grams of white chocolate chips and 50 grams of milk chocolate chips in a bowl here, which I'm going to put to one side. You don't have to add, you can see, don't have to add extra chocolate when you are making brownies, but if you do, 100 grams of chocolate chips. And I did say I was using dark chocolate. I prefer dark chocolate for something like this because it gives a stronger taste. And you can see the chocolate is already starting to melt on top of that water. So I'm going to stir it occasionally, but just leave that. The last two ingredients that I need are my caster sugar, and I have 275 grams of caster sugar in my bowl and 3 eggs, and I'm going to put my 3 eggs straight into this bowl. Now this is the largest of the 3 bowls that I've got because eventually all my ingredients are going to end up in this bowl, and I want to be able to stir and mix this easily. So at school, your big metal bowls that you use in your cupboards normally, I would put your eggs and sugar into that. I'd put your chocolate and butter into one of your china bowls to melt so that it's not going to get too hot, and flour and cocoa onto a plate or out of the way. The next thing that I need to do, I'm just going to give that one more stir. The next thing that I need to do is to whisk my eggs and sugar together, and you need to do this with an electric mixer because you are going to be using the whisking method for this. So you need to whisk these eggs and sugar together until this mixture looks really light and fluffy. And because you've got so much sugar in here, this is going to take a little time. So between 5 to 8 minutes to get these whisked up enough. When you start, just do it slowly to start because there really is a lot of sugar to be mixed up in those eggs, and then increase the speed. And to start off with, this mixture will look really dark in colour, but you need to whisk it until it forms a trail, very similar to when you're making a Swiss roll. When your mixture is done, it should be nice and white and fluffy like that, and if you put your beaters into the bowl and lift them up, you should be able to see where they fall back on top of the mixture. So as soon as that mixture is done, we need to stir in the melted chocolate and butter. I just need to stir this a little bit more just to finish melting the butter before I put it into there. I've got my cake tin prepared and ready. So I have lined the bottom and the sides of this cake tin to make it greasier to lift the brownies out. And when you're doing this, remember to cut diagonally into the corners so that your cake greaseproof paper, baking parchment, will stick around the tin and it won't go into your cake. So I'm just going to wipe the bottom of the bowl with a tea towel so that I'm not dripping water everywhere, because that looks pretty much melted now. So this goes on top of my whisked egg mixture. So all of your chocolate and butter into your egg. Use your spatula, make sure that you get all of that mixture off, and then stir this together until it becomes one colour. So you need to be turning your spoon over but trying not to knock out any or too much air, because the more air you can keep in this, the more your brownie will rise. And when you can see it's a little bit mottled like that, so it's a little bit mottled, it's not completely one colour. So before you've finished stirring in all of the sugar, just sieve your flour and cocoa again over the top, and you can finish mixing up the chocolate while you stir in the flour and cocoa. And to start off with, this will look a little bit dry, but you really need to keep going until you can't see any more flour in this bowl. So fold the mixture over on itself, just turn it over in the bowl until all the flour and cocoa has gone, and remember to go down the middle of your bowl as well. So keep turning your bowl, because we don't want to pour this out and then find that we've got lumps of dry flour. And if you are going to be using chocolate chips in this, those go in once your flour has been mixed in as well. So all together, that looks a nice even colour. So the last thing to do is to pour this into the prepared cake tin. So scrape all of your mixture into your cake tin, and remember to use your spatula so that you get all the mixture in there. And I'm just going to go around this bowl as well with the spatula and get a bit more cake mix or brownie mix into there. There we go. So that's all done. That's in there. This is going to go into an oven on 160, which is gas mark 4, for 20 to 25 minutes. And after 20 to 25 minutes, I'll have a look at it. The important thing with brownies is that you don't overcook them. We don't want this to be a cake when it comes out, so it should not be cooked all the way through to the centre. The brownie's been in for 25 minutes, and I know that it's cooked because when you wobble it, it shouldn't be wobbly in the middle. So we want it to be, don't want it to be wobbly in the middle. If you touch it, you can feel there is just a crust of sugar on the top. And if you look at the very outside, I'm not sure that you can see it with the camera, but around the outside edge I can see it's just starting to come away from the greaseproof paper. It isn't set like a normal cake. I can feel that underneath that crust it is still soft and gooey in the middle, so it needs to stay in the tin for a little while to cool before you'll be able to take it out and cut it up into squares. Okay, the brownie's cooled down and I've just lifted it out of the tin in the paper, and I can see that it's cooked at the outside, and you can see it's shrunk and cracked a little bit in the middle, but that's perfectly normal. And then you can cut your brownie up and divide it, and you can see it's got that nice crisp brownie top, and inside it should still be a little bit soft and gooey, as you can tell by the fact that it's sticking to the knife. So I'm going to cut this into roughly 16 pieces, but if I just move that corner piece there, you can see inside the brownie is nice and gooey, which is what you expect it to be. So try not to overcook them.